that is more of a miracle, according to this Rav who I spoke to, than earthquakes and natural disasters. So when you say Patech et Yadecha, you're supposed to have that in mind, that it's Hashem opens his hand, and it talks actually about feeding the planet, the citizens of the planet, of Earth. And I didn't ask him about repeating it, but I'm going to talk about something else in a few seconds. But if I don't think of it, I say it to myself and I try to visualize that it means he provides, but it relates to food.
Animals, you know that, eh?
All creatures of the planet.
All
creatures,
of the planet,
living creatures. Okay.
Great.
And then secondly, if you say the Shema, when you say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you're supposed to vision that Hashem is the one and only one. And if you don't have kavanah, if you don't have that in mind, and let's say you'd finish the Shema, you have to go back and repeat all 3 paragraphs. But the main thing is, let's say you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and you have in mind that Hashem is one, the only one, and let's say you say the rest of the words without kavanah, that's okay, you fulfill the mitzvah. Okay, so but you have to have it in mind, and as to repeat on Shabbat, what I said on Saturday night, for the Shemona Esrei, you have to have kavanah for the first 3 brachas for the Shemona Esrei to fulfill the mitzvah. Okay, Damon, what do you have to say? Anything that I may have missed?
Okay, so guys, I worked at a specific diagram. I'm going to share the screen for us to help us understand it, because some of us are more visual than others. Okay, and I'm going to share this JPEG. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it. I don't know if you are able to look at the screen, or if you're using a tiny screen at the moment, but this does make a difference to you too. Arthur?
There he is.
Yeah. Arthur?
Dan, this is a little hard because I'm carrying stuff up. Why are you throwing the bag out now? I don't know, mate, but I'm carrying food up at the moment.
All right, so what I'll do then is I'll use this part of the shiur for the end, and then I'll just try and go through the concept first.
Okay.
How long are you moving food around for?
Well, I'm going upstairs, and then we've got to move stuff down because we've got to empty stuff out of our apartment, because now it's moving night for the boxes and all that stuff, and the old cupboards and all that stuff we're taking to throw away. So
can you
we only get a chance once a week.
Can you give me 3 or 4 minutes on the screen, and the rest you can listen to? Is that okay?
Well, it's 8 o'clock now. I've got to be working 9 o'clock, so I have to move stuff and get everything done while I'm listening to you. Unless you want to do this shiur after 9 o'clock.
No, I'm good. I'll give it over, and then can you watch the screen when you get a chance, maybe on a.
Okay, so.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to explain the screen. I'm going to go through the Gemara in detail and then share the screen again. It's the best. It's the best.
You know what you should do? WhatsApp the screen to this diagram to him. Then you'll look at it, because Arthur will get a chance to look at it then.
I will. I will. But I just it's all right. So, Kev, let me just go through it step by step. Okay. We're talking about a thief that steals and slaughters or sells the animal. And the thief in this case is the son. Okay, according to the pasuk in our Mishnah, right? So Rav Nachman says that we see the verse literally. In other words, where it says in the pasuk, if you take 5 oxen is replaced with 1 oxen, which means whole animals are replaced with whole animals. He doesn't process that there are half payments, because the pasuk doesn't talk about half payments. Do you remember that, Kev, in Exodus? So basically, what what we are saying is that in Shmot chapter 21, verse 37, the merciful one states that you shall pay 5 cattle in the place of an ox, but it doesn't imply 5 half cattle. So in other words, Rav Nachman sees it literally. In other words, he doesn't deal with fractions here. So how does this relate? If a father is stolen from his son, okay, and the father's still alive, it's very simple then, because there's no inheritance issues, or the son hasn't inherited it yet. There are no issues with the brothers. He stole a whole ox from his father, he replaces it with 5 oxen. You with me? Guys, are you with me?
I'm following.
Yeah.
Okay, but Rava proposes that it's actually a conceptual extraction from the pasuk. That when it talks about a 4 or 5-fold penalty, depending if it's a sheep or ox, it includes a percentage share to either the brothers or the partners. And the 4 or 5 times amount can be half payments. So brothers are like partners or shareholders. Okay, so where we had this case is if the father's already died, then who inherits it? The son and the brothers. So let's just say a guy's got one brother, right? And the ox is worth 400 zuz. Now, the thing of it is, he owes his brother 200 zuz on the ox itself. Is that correct, Kev?
So what's the amount again? 100?
No, it's 400 zuz. His father died.
Okay.
So him and his brother stand to inherit the ox.
Half of that.
They get 200 zuz each.
Yeah, okay.
So Rava is proposing that the brother's 200 zuz is times by 5 for the ox that he stole. So he owes his brother 1,000 zuz for his share.
Plus the 200, isn't it?
Yes, 200 times 5 is 1,000 zuz. The ox is
Okay.
again, guys, the ox is worth 400 zuz. The ox is worth 400 zuz. There's only
Damon, I'm talking about,
yeah.
sorry, I'm referring to, he's got to pay the 200 principal back plus 5 times, or
No,
200.
that's an excellent
200 4
question.
times.
Excellent question. So let me tell you how the 4 or 5-fold payment is comprised. I think that's an excellent question. Is it comprises of the double payment, okay, plus 2 for a sheep and plus 3 for an ox.
So it incorporates the principal then, that's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it. Okay,
Great
that's why you
question.
said, okay, got it, thank you.
No, but it's a great question. So Kevin, the ox is worth 400 zuz. Shimon takes it from Reuven. Each of them should get 200 zuz of the 400 zuz ox. So then Reuven sues Shimon in court, his brother. And Rava is saying that you should take Shimon's share, which is 200 zuz, and times it by 5, because that's the penalty for a stolen ox that you sold or slaughtered, and give his brother 1,000 zuz.
Because if the 2 brothers, the one that stole, the thief that happens to be the brother, would have also got 1,000 times 5 for his share.
No, because he's an inheritor.
No, they're both inheritors. The brother that stole should have been also inheritor, but he's actually the thief as well.
Correct,
So
but
the
he
2 of them,
doesn't
they
pay
both would have got
himself.
1,000 times 5 because it's
No,
they're
well,
half.
he doesn't pay himself, Kev.
Yeah.
If it was stolen by a third person then?
Yes, but then if it's stolen by a third person, what you do then is you divide the shareholding proportionately. So you're saying the ox is worth 300 zuz, for example. Let's just take 300 zuz. Each brother, there's 3 brothers. The thief is one brother. He owes each of his brother 100 zuz. Okay? So then he owes 5 times that 200 zuz, which is 1,000 zuz. So each brother is entitled to 500 zuz.
Yeah.
So the concept is the same. Whatever this brother's shares are split amongst the brothers, and they get 5 times what they were entitled to gain. Makes sense, guys?
So he's not getting anything because he was a thief. So it only goes the other brother.
He is.
Who's
He
the
took his
inheritor.
portion in terms of
Oh, really?
inheritance. That's entitled. That is
By
entitled.
stealing it. By stealing it.
Well, he's entitled to it. He's a shareholder.
Yes.
He's entitled to his share. Yeah, that he's entitled to. That doesn't get taken away from him. But on what he stole from his brothers, Rava is proposing that there's a fivefold penalty for the ox that he stole. So whatever you owe to each brother, you times it by 5. That's what Rava is saying.
Yeah,
Rav Nachman is saying you can't do that. You can't do that because the pasuk says if you steal an oxen in its entirety, you pay 5 oxen in return, which means not part of an ox, full ox. So he doesn't see the concept of proportional payments. Rav Nachman.
So how does Rav Nachman resolve this problem?
I'll show you, but we're going to read the Gemara after this.
Jumping the gun, sorry.
No problem. So Rava is then suggesting and agreeing with Rav Nachman that if the father is still alive and sues his son, he gets 5 full oxen for his ox, because only the father's entitled to it at that point.
Yeah.
So there's no issue there. It's when the father dies what happens. So Rava is saying, surely it's like partners, 2 different business partners, is that you steal a 400 zuz ox from 2 business partners. You feel bad for the one partner because you like him. You give him the money back. You admit to it. There's no penalty. You give him the 200 zuz. That person you like, he says, well, what don't tell me your partner? He says to the partner, the thief, tell your partner to call me. So the partner comes over and he says, I want the money back that you stole. He said, what are you talking about? I didn't steal anything. He says, yes, you did. He says, prove it. Anyway, when he made the theft, Kevin, he was a bit drunk and he didn't realize there were witnesses there. So then when the witnesses go to court, they can't make for the partner he paid back him pay a penalty because he made restitution before the court case. He only owes the second partner his share, and Rava is proposing that second partner, you give him his share, you times it by 5. Rav Nachman says no. It's either you pay in whole or you don't pay at all. There's no penalty. You just pay that partner the actual damage. Now, I'm assuming that the damage would be double. I don't assume it would just be the principal, guys. Because whatever you steal, he shall pay double. Do you get what I'm saying? I definitely think it would be double. I don't think double of his share. I don't think it would just be the principal. Because, guys, when I've looked at the notes and again in different pasukim, that for a sheep, you pay the double plus you pay 2. When you steal an ox, you pay double plus you pay 3. So I think the double is the default position, especially for any other animal. So what Rava is saying is that the second partner gets the 5 times his share, whereas Rav Nachman says, no, he doesn't get 5 times his share because they're not whole payments. So you just get double. I'm assuming not just the principal. Makes sense. And Kevin, this is analogous to a brother that's got an inheritance. It's like business partners, no difference, except in one case it's inheritors, and in another case it's shareholders. So it doesn't make a difference. That's why Rava used the example of 2 business partners compared to brothers. It's the same concept, exactly the same concept. You with me, Kev? Guys, are you with me?
Yeah.
I'm following 100%.
Okay, so then please, guys, when I'm asking, please let me know because I don't know if you're following or not. And it's difficult. No, you did. I just couldn't hear Kev. Maybe he was on mute. I just wanted to know if Kevin was also okay. So Rava is further suggesting, Kevin, that once the father died, the brothers can sue the thief brother for their share, and their percentage, and then each of the brothers gets whatever their normal share is times 5. That's what Rava is suggesting, and Rav Nachman does not. Guys,
Because Rav Nachman, because you said Rav Nachman, there's no such thing as half.
Yeah, because he reads the
shares.
pasuk.
It's only full.
He reads the pasuk literally. If you steal an ox, you pay back 5 oxen in its entirety. He doesn't talk about half portions.
And,
So Rava asked Rav Nachman, and he says there's no half portions. Okay.
and Damon,
Yeah.
I was going through Parshat Nasor today, and it actually mentions theft and what the penalties are.
Serious.
And it mentioned for a 5-fold payment, actually. It didn't specifically mention about oxen or sheep, but it actually mentioned 4-fold of 5 in what one has to be liable for.
Oh wow.
Again,
Okay.
in
So
Parshat in Bamidbar.
Can I just ask a quick question?
sure, man.
With that 4-5, because I'm trying to see where this, just go back to that drawing again, so I remember the rabbi's name again. Sorry, if you're going to share your screen again.
Are the drawings helpful, guys?
Very much.
Yes,
so.
it's because it's you can see it, and it's easy. It may be easier to. I mean, this isn't a totally complicated concept.
No,
It's not difficult.
it's not difficult.
I
when
shouldn't say.
write
I
it
shouldn't say
down.
that. Yeah.
It's not difficult, but if I just say it verbally, it's not so easy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's,
So-
I
Yeah.
like it because I can see the rabbis. I can see who's talking. It's easier for me to register. Listen, Rav Nachman, right?
Yes.
So he's saying, okay, he literally takes you got it that you if there's a penalty, it's 4 or 5 for a whole sheep or an oxen. But I thought that if there's a penalty, you could also pay it. Do you have to pay 4 or 5 whole sheep? Can you not pay it monetary wise? In monetary compensation, because then it wouldn't be a problem. You're not splitting an animal in half. You're splitting the money in half. So why? So that's what I'm trying to. I mean, do you always have to pay with the whole sheep and the whole oxen, or can you pay monetarily as well?
You can pay monetary as well. You can.
So why would
pay
Rav
that-
Nachman have a problem then? Because you're not splitting it then. You're splitting the money, not the animal.
Correct. So the reality is, if you should pay with oxen. If you don't have it, you would pay in lieu of that. But he does. If the pasuk doesn't talk about percentages, it doesn't mean there's necessarily a concept of percentages. Either way, it would be a parallel argument, meaning that
Okay.
if you don't have the oxen, fine, you can pay cash or grain or whatever, but you can't pay part thereof, which
Yeah. But
means,
then
which is a great question, which means that Rav Nachman said there's no 4 or 5-fold payment. He would just literally pay double, which is the minimum requirement, if suit.
yeah, but
Okay, so that's his solution when if somebody, I mean, if that in both examples, you would just pay double then because you can't split it according to Rav Nachman.
Correct.
Okay. That
But
makes
if Rav-
okay, I get where
Damon.
you're coming from.
But if Rav Nachman said it has to be 5 full oxen, if they're partners, that's prejudicing the thief. What he has to pay back. I mean,
No,
he's
he's
paying
not.
it back to him.
It's a great question what Kevin's asking. He's saying, but then all of a sudden he's paying a lot more, especially if he does the
Yeah.
right thing with the first guy. And Rav Nachman
Yeah.
is saying, no, he's agreeing with Kevin. He's saying to that Kevin, there's no 4 or 5-fold payment. He only pays the second partner that he stiffed double. And he wouldn't have to pay double, by the way. He only pays the principal to the first partner because he didn't irritate the court. When he troubles the court, he pays double for everything except an ox or sheep if he after stealing it, if he slaughters or sells it. But any other animal pays double. If he steals an ashtray, clothing, whatever, he pays double. So in other words, the first partner just paid the principal because he didn't trouble the court. So even if witnesses come later, the first partner sorted. The second partner, he just pays double, which is the principal plus the penalty. But a single penalty, not 5 times, which is a penalty of 4 plus the principal of the partner's share. So Rav Nachman is saying, like Kevin, if there's no whole oxen, we don't make him pay a whole oxen because he doesn't owe a whole. He doesn't owe anything then. He just pays double.
But surely that's a bit of a loophole because if I was a thief, I would target animals, sheep and what's it called? Sheep and oxen that were owned by multiple people, so that you never pay more than double.
Well, I think if you did that particular thing, I would not be in the oxen and thief business if I was stealing. Just saying.
Yeah.
I choose other animals. I mean, a horse, You get a decent figure for horse. You might not eat it, but you can certainly ride it. It must have fetched the amount of a car. I don't know, but it might have been a horse.
I'm sure it sells for more than a sheep. Oxen, I'm not sure. Some oxen could be the same as a horse, but
I think Gavin's got a good point. So there is a change of heart that Rav Nachman has, or a change of mind. So let me just explain this to you. Okay, just give me a sec, guys. And then when I read the daf in its entirety, it's going to be a lot more simple. But if you read it straight, it wasn't this simple, Kev. It takes quite an art to take something very complicated and make it simple, I promise you. Okay, now, as we see here, Rav Nachman at this stage says you can only sue for the whole theft and thus whole penalty, not shareholding or percentage. So there's no fivefold payment to brothers or for only their share, or to a business partner. You don't say that you paid the first business partner, the second one, you pay him his share fivefold, or if you have a brother and you're an inheritor and he's an inheritor, you don't pay him 5 times, because Rav Nachman doesn't recognize partial theft and percentages. Okay, so that's how we ended off with this discussion. Okay, that's this discussion. Now, I've got 10 minutes to show you the converse discussion, and then tomorrow we'll go through the proper shiur. Okay, so Rav Nachman had a good night's sleep and a good meal, because it actually says there were 2 opinions that he thought about it. And there was one opinion that he didn't have a proper night's sleep, and there was another opinion that said he was actually fasting the previous day, because he said he didn't get to the meat of it. So when you say you didn't get to the meat of it, you don't get to the heart or the meat of the issue. It's a concept saying you didn't really examine it well enough. So Rav Nachman admitted he didn't get to the heart of it properly, meaning literally, on the one hand, he didn't eat a meal the day before and he was fasted and he wasn't feeling well. And the other opinion is he didn't actually go to delve into the meat of the issue. Does that make sense? But either way, he had a change of mind. So he reassessed the situation and agrees in concept of half payment or percentages. Now that makes more sense to me, Gavin, Kevin, and Arthur.
Yeah, to all of us.
So now I've got 10 minutes left to go through this. Rav Nachman states, if the son stole and sold or slaughtered the ox during the father's lifetime, he pays the entire fivefold, as he stole the entire ox. At that stage, he's not an inheritor at all. He stole what's his father's. He didn't get it yet. His father's not dead. So he owes his father for the whole animal 5 times what he stole. Even Rava doesn't have an issue with that. He agrees. But it's known as in lawlessness. Why is it called in lawlessness? Because he and his brothers have not yet inherited it, and he doesn't have a share in it. So it's not his to take. It's not his to take. Now, we would have thought, now this is the chiddush, guys, we would have thought if he waited for his father to die, then he owes his brothers their percentage of 4 or 5 times the amount, depending if he steals from his brothers a sheep or an ox, right? So let's take Shimon and Reuven. Reuven steals from Shimon half the ox of 400 zuz. He takes the 400 zuz, but he owes his brother 200 zuz. His brother sues him now that they're inheritors, and his brother, you would think, would get 5 times the amount for the stolen ox, which is 1,000 zuz, right? Because he's had a change of mind, Rav Nachman, talking about percentages. So the other brother gets his percentage of half the animal, because he's got one brother, and you times that by 5. Rav Nachman said that's not the case. And when you hear his reason, it's very clever. Okay? What's his reason? Rav Nachman states if a son stole and then sold or slaughtered the ox, after inheriting a portion of it upon his father's death, we cannot apply to him the verse as he slaughters it. Whenever the pasuk said slaughters it, it's talking about the animal in its entirety. Why can't we apply that pasuk? Because he's now part owner or inheritor along with his brothers. So it's actually not in lawlessness. He's entitled to some of the animal. It's not blatant lawlessness because he's part owner. And that is not because he never stole it in its entirety. In other words, he had no right to take it whatsoever, even a share of it. he's not liable now to pay his brothers 5 times for their portion of the ox. He only pays for their respective share of each brother of their animal. So there's no penalty of 5, because each according to his brother's share he gets, and the brother that's a thief gives his share, but there's no 5-fold penalty for stealing the ox, because it's not in lawlessness, because we can't apply to him the pasuk, and he stole it in its entirety, because he didn't steal it in its entirety. He stole his part of it, which he never inherited. Some of it he did, was his. So that's why there's no penalty. Clever.
So is there no twofold either for this?
Yes, no, there is a twofold. That goes without.
So there is a penalty then. It's just not the 5-fold penalty.
It's just not the 5-fold penalty. I'm sure there's a penalty if the brothers sue him in court. I'm sure. I'm not 100%. I'm about 95% sure, Gab.
Because he's a part inheritor also.
Yeah,
from the estate.
For their share, he shall pay double. I would. There's no penalty in 5. But Gavin, you might be right, because there is a concept that we learn in the Gemara to say that there's basically a rule. There's basically a rule that says that one cannot bequeath a fine to his sons. So the sons. So in other words, it might be in that case that there's only the principal paid to the brothers and not the twofold. It's possible. It's possible. But if the brothers sue him, it's now technically there. So I don't know if there's a twofold or just the principal, but we know there's no 5-fold. In terms of if it's double, I'm not sure. Probably it might be. I'm not sure. With partners for sure, but with the brothers, I'm not sure.
So if it's not 5-fold, what is it?
Well,
Proportional.
if it's partners, if you steal from your business partner and he sues you and you don't, you would pay double because you have a share in the business. But if it's brothers, there's a concept that there's no penalty amongst heirs, inheritors. So in that case, you might pay only the principal back to your brothers. You might not have to pay a penalty to your brothers. But in any event, you had a share in it. So for sure, the worst is you pay double, but I don't think so. But you certainly, and the reason why I think you would, yeah. So Gavin, I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I know you don't pay a 5-fold because it's not in law.
But it sounds like you would have to pay some sort of penalty, which would be the twofold default.
You might not if it's brothers and
just compensation.
You might, because it's not business partners. Business partners, for sure, you pay double. For sure, you pay double, even if you've got a share in the business. But for brothers, there's no fines for inheritors. So there might be an issue there that there's only a principle. There is a concept like that.
It might just be a principle then. If it says that there's no fines, then that's maybe it.
Yeah, one cannot bequeath a fine to his sons. That's according to Tosfot. So they might, anyway, listen, I'm going to go through the Gemara and the complicated backwards and forwards, and it's going to make your head spin a bit, but you know the concept. Because admit, when you read it to yourself yesterday, it wasn't so clear, Kevin, because when I read it in the beginning, it wasn't so clear to me either, in the very beginning, because it was going backwards and forwards and knitting, picking at this and that.
Just if it just stated facts, like in bullet points, you know, it's like you did, it's much more simple. You know what I mean? But it doesn't do that way.
No, because you're meant to enjoy the discourse backwards and forwards. But now that you understand the concept, we'll go back to the arguments and you'll enjoy it. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. And then we will recap with this. I'd actually like to recap with this because it will confuse you a bit, the arguments backwards and forwards. And then afterwards, we'll recap with this page for a minute or two. But I think this is a very strong way to start. I like the fact that we're doing bullet points and charts. It makes a lot of sense to me.
I agree, and I think it helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and Rav Simcha and Rabbi Ram Cohen liked the idea of it very much.
Did you send them that drawing, this diagram you did?
I sent it to Rav Simcha and I explained it to Rabbi Cohen on Shabbos. And he said it takes a lot of work to make it look easy.
Well, maybe he can, you won't mind if he uses it, eh? Maybe he'll use it, what you created.
With pleasure. I think he's more, you know what, he gives it over directly in the Aramaic and the English. When you're doing daf yomi, you're going through it at such a pace. But I thought this was very important. I want to thank all of you guys for attending. Arthur, I wish you a refuah, my friend. I'm so sorry.
Amen.
I will send you this as a PDF so that you can have a look at it. It will make the sugya a lot easier for you. And yeah, guys, thank you very much. Take care. And thank you, Kev, for allowing me just to have a bit of extra